In the late summer of 1845, two ships sat in the open water of Baffin Bay, waiting for the ice to clear. A passing whaler exchanged a few words with their officers. Then the ships sailed west, into the Arctic, and out of the written record entirely. 129 men were aboard. Not one would ever be seen alive by Europeans again. This is the case of the Franklin expedition, and what the evidence actually tells us about how it ended. On the 19th of May, 1845, HMS Erebus and HMS Terror left Greenhithe, England, under the command of Sir John Franklin. Their goal was the Northwest Passage, the sea route through the Arctic that European powers had hunted for 3 centuries. The two ships were reinforced for ice, fitted with steam engines, and stocked with 3 years of provisions, much of it in the new technology of tinned food. By the standards of 1845, nothing was left to chance. The first winter offered a clue that would only make sense much later. Through 1845 and 1846, the expedition wintered at Beechey Island, and 3 men died there: John Torrington, John Hartnell, and William Braine. Their graves, marked with wooden headboards, were found by searchers in 1850. More than a century later, when those bodies were exhumed from the permafrost, they were so well preserved that their faces were still recognizable, and their tissue carried a warning the Victorians could never have read. The plan was to be gone 2, perhaps 3 years. But 3 years passed with no word. By 1848, the British Admiralty, pressed relentlessly by Franklin's wife, Lady Jane Franklin, launched the first of what would become more than 30 search expeditions. They combed thousands of miles of coastline. For years they found almost nothing. No ships, no survivors, only the slow accumulation of small, grim clues scattered across the ice. In 1859, a search party on King William Island found a single sheet of paper sealed in a can, the only written record the expedition ever left. It carried 2 messages. The first, from 1847, said all was well. The second, scrawled in the margins a year later, did not. It recorded that Sir John Franklin had died on the 11th of June, 1847, that 24 men were already dead, and that the 105 survivors had abandoned the ice-locked ships on the 22nd of April, 1848, to march south on foot. That march is the last confirmed action of the expedition. The note itself came from one more search in 1859, led by Francis Leopold McClintock and funded by Lady Franklin. On King William Island, his party found more than paper. They found a ship's boat mounted on a heavy sledge with 2 skeletons inside it, and a strange cargo of non-essentials: books, silverware, even slippers. The kind of things desperate, failing men carry when judgment itself has begun to break down. What happened on that march came not from British records, but from the people who lived on the land. In 1854, the explorer John Ray gathered testimony from local Inuit, who described a column of starving men dragging boats, dying as they went, and signs that the last survivors had resorted to cannibalism. In Victorian Britain, the claim was furiously rejected. Charles Dickens himself attacked it in print. But Ray had reported what he was told, not what was comfortable. More than a century later, forensic study of cut marks on recovered bones would support the Inuit account. Suspicion later fell on the food. Much of the expedition's tinned provisions came from a supplier named Stephen Goldner, on a contract awarded late and filled in a hurry. The tins were sealed with lead solder, and some appear to have been poorly made. For decades, this was offered as the simple answer. Lead from the cans had poisoned the crew. But as with everything in this case, the simple answer has not entirely held. Beginning in the 1980s, the anthropologist Owen Beattie exhumed 3 crew members buried early in the voyage on Beechey Island. Their tissue showed high levels of lead, and a theory took hold that lead from the tinned food or the ship's water system had poisoned the crew's judgment and health. It is a compelling story, but here the case stays honest. More recent isotope studies have questioned whether lead was the decisive factor at all, pointing instead to the plain arithmetic of scurvy, starvation, and Arctic cold. The truthful answer is that the men died of several causes at once, and the relative weight of each is still debated. There is one quiet redemption in the story. John Ray, the man whose honest report was attacked because it credited the Inuit and spoke of cannibalism, was proven right. The people who lived on that land had told the truth from the beginning. It would take more than 150 years and a deliberate decision to finally listen to Inuit oral history for that testimony to lead searchers to the ships themselves. For over 160 years, the ships themselves stayed lost, until the people who had always known these waters were finally listened to. Guided in part by Inuit oral testimony, Parks Canada located the wreck of HMS Erebus in 2014 and HMS Terror in 2016, both remarkably intact on the seabed. They are now protected, and divers continue to recover artifacts. Yet the core questions remain open. Sir John Franklin's grave has never been found, and exactly why the best-equipped Arctic expedition of its century collapsed so completely is a question the evidence narrows, but has never fully closed. That is where the case stands today.